and I'm the principal at there.
Going to call this meeting to order. We just barely have a quorum, but I see we do have one. Can I get an approval of this agenda?
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda.
Okay. All in favor with a show of hands? Okay. And we'll get started tonight with Vokert. Mr. Slater.
Thank you. Good evening. I've got a little update for you tonight. There should be a PowerPoint presentation showing. Is it showing on your screens? It's not showing out here. Ma'am? Okay, well, if y'all ready to get, I'll go ahead. On the second slide there, we've got a little bit of a recap of what's been happening over the past couple of months, where their projects and their budgets have been identified. The architect selection has been completed. We started writing the architects' agreements and sent them out. We sent 36 out over the past couple of weeks. And we've been working on the building space programs for the new facilities. On the next slide is the preliminary master schedule that we've put together for each of the projects. Across the top, of course, is the years from 22 to 27, and the next row down is each of those years broke up into quarters going through, and each of the projects are, as they're assigned to architects, just for the ease of looking at the charts here, color-coded each of the architects to coincide with their projects, and got it broke down in the next to the far right on the schematic design and design development and construction document phases. which are the three main phases of design, and I have those broke down into days, and then finally the construction, and then the total duration by quarter. We've got several of the projects starting off the second quarter of this year, and then staged throughout for the next 4.5, 5 years. Some of the groupings of the projects, you'll notice that we've got all of the gymnasiums per architect are grouped together. That way we can bid them out as a package, and maybe a larger contractor may be able to bid on all 3 or 4 of the projects at once and get a better price, or we can break it down to where each job can be bid as an individual project, allowing a smaller contractor the ability to bid on them as well. Yes, ma'am. Correct. More than likely. Now, I have this broke down at this point just in quarters. The design phase will likely start a little bit further to the left on this chart once I start getting the architect's agreements completely signed and get them under contract. But one of the reasons Lee is starting where they are, we've got to make sure we got our land acquisition finalized instead of starting earlier. Any other questions on the master schedule? Okay, if you'll, the easier ones to find would be down like first quarter of 24. You'll see 3 or 4 orange in a row there. That's gymnasiums. And then below that, I guess the first one was peach and the next one's orange, is another grouping. Next slide, please. Our short-term look ahead is, of course, we need to finalize the architect's agreements to where we can get them under design on each of the jobs, and then finalize the building programs. We've met with several of the directors, and we've got other meetings later this week to go over the Lee High School programming space. Then we'll begin the design phase and fine-tune the master schedule to be able to meet to those phases. That's our quick update. If we got any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed Farm presentation by Ms. Wade.
Hello. I am Ms. Wade with Ed Farm. I currently serve as a learning innovation coach that works with your teacher fellows. And tonight we're going to just kind of highlight the programming and talk about kind of a status update of where we are in this initiative. So Ed Farm is all about cultivating change. Next slide. There we go. We really just envision an inventive world where educators are equipped with what they need to make sure we are filling and also creating jobs of the future. And so we are all about equipping educators, igniting coders, and empowering innovators. And Montgomery Public Schools has actually tapped into all of our K-12 programming. So we're going to just share briefly about teacher fellows, student fellows, code clubs, and we are currently in the process of building a classroom of tomorrow at Brubaker Middle. It's a very exciting year, really, for MPS and Ed Farm. So the first thing is just the Teacher Fellows program. Basically, our goal is to equip educators with tools, strategies, and the really devices that they need to create engaging, hands-on, tech-infused learning. We really build on the content, we use the tools to enhance it, and kids become really just designers of the learning experience. Our core themes are code, create, community, and cultivate change. And our goal is to take teachers from that introduction level all the way to the innovation level. These teachers are already doing amazing things, but on top of what they normally do as a teacher, they also agree to a 12-month fellowship that includes 70 hours of professional learning, 16 hours of personalized coaching sessions that are one-to-one, where we co-design, I co-teach, etc. They're actually going to come to a headquarters and do a 20-hour future learning summit. They will also be providing their staff with professional learning opportunities. So the whole goal is that we teach these 20 teachers and they take it around into their schools and it just kind of spreads. That's the hope. They also have access to several other things like our virtual platform. We work on a badge system and they're all centered around just kind of that idea of cultivating change. So you can see the first one is community collaborator, digital trailblazer, creative designer, confident coder, future-focused facilitator, and change cultivator. And I'll show you right now we are on the creative designer badge. So they have been learning about challenge-based learning experiences and designing those to bring into their classrooms. At the end of their journey, they also will become Apple Teacher Certified as well as EdFarm Teacher Certified. And we are in the process of building out micro-credentials. In Montgomery City Schools, EdFarm has 10 middle schools with 20 teacher fellows. We actually have 250 student fellows, and we have, great guys, we have some with us tonight, and you're gonna get to hear from them. It's all about them, right? Round of applause for that. Like, look at these kids showing up. I love it. We have 200 Code Club students, and we're gonna have one classroom of tomorrow and hopefully more in the future. And we also do iCamps in the summer, so we'll talk about those. This is just a really quick video that kind of shows the launch of this partnership.
At the beginning of my trailblazing, I'm still moving forward, and I'm starting somewhere, and then I am taking that to the next level. The next level. The next level. The next level.
Introducing technology in a new way in MPS.
The next
But I want to kind of instill the drive and confidence in our students to be able to be plumbers and creators.
the next level.
If the classroom is no longer a box, it's everywhere. You notice how our command is written? Right? And 3 dots. Now, control.
They're all kind of little options. Right. Add them. If you have to, you're going to use them. That's immersion.
So it's almost like it makes them remove any doubt they may have about what they can and cannot do. So it's kind of our job to change the mindset.
Oh, there we go. And then this one is just a really quick one that shows kind of where we're at in our journey. You can also scan that flow code to bookmark the Teacher Fellows website. right, so as you can see, overall, increase in engagement, increase in computer science knowledge, kids are learning to code. But now I'm going to turn it over to the people you really want to hear from, and that's the student fellows. And I will say, I do think we have a few teacher fellows. You want to wave? Got a couple? Yeah. All right, kiddos. Hey. Come on up.
Okay, so my name is Emma Currington, and I am the Student Fellow Specialist here for Ed Farm, and I get to work with 10 schools in MPS. And I am just delighted. We started back in January, and Student Fellows at its core is a whole semester long introduction innovation course where student fellows are learning how to code, create, and cultivate change in their community. And they do that all through technology. Everything they do is standards aligned and helps them really connect to the world around them. In fact, our main purpose is for them to see how learning does not impact just the four walls of their classroom, but can impact the world. But I want to go ahead and turn the time over to those who are actually making this magical. I'm brought with me today Bellingraph, and they have been just doing amazing things in this course. And so I'm going to have Miss Lewis share just what is day-to-day student fellows, and then we're going to have two student fellows share as well what they like about the course.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Tina Lewis. I am a seventh grade life science teacher at Bellingraph Middle School, but I've also had the pleasure of teaching this class, the Intro to Innovation class as well, and it has been eye-opening experience to see my scholars innovate and cultivate change with our class. And I'm trying to hold back tears, so excuse me. So what we do on a daily basis, we start with our pledge that we have for the Intro to Innovation class. Then I normally have what I call my Geek Squad to pass out our iPads. Most of the students, we have a cart, a set of 30 actually, and each student gets an iPad. When you're in the Intro to Innovation class, you work on an iPad to do all of your assignments on those iPads. So we've worked on assignments such as creating logos. Also, right now we're currently creating, they are creating a video game set to go, they're competing to try to get it into the Apple Arcade for Apple. And like I said, I'm just very excited to have them here and let you guys see what they're doing. Anybody? I'm going to actually let Kaylana speak about the class. Go ahead. You can if you want.
Hello, my name is Kaylana Bazil. I go to Bellingraph Middle School. Being a innovator, also being a child in it is actually really fun. I'm having a great time in it. Seeing different ways I could use code in my community, but also in my school and personal life has been an amazing opportunity, and I'm just really glad I'm in this program.
Elizabeth, come on. Sanaya. And then a little word from Brenda. Go ahead, Sanaya.
Hi, I'm Sanaya McCants, and just like Kaylana said, it is really fun to be in Ed Farm. And I just want to say, my favorite thing to do is create and cultivate change in the community. Because not only am I letting out my ideas, I'm helping people with ideas and problems that could be solved by doing certain things from the ideas.
Good job, lady. Brandon, did you want to say something?
I'm about to die laughing.
Okay, please don't. Go ahead.
My name is Brendan Handy, and I go to Bellingrath Middle School. I'm in the 7th grade, and being in the Ed Farm class is just great because, like Kaylana and Sanaa said, it's fun, and we get to do, like, share our ideas, share what we think, and it's amazing.
Okay, we'll take it. Thank you.
I absolutely am amazed every time I come to class and the words that they speak, and I really love what Sanaya said. When they're in there, they are sharing their ideas, using technology to make those ideas happen and impacting their community. So just like the teacher fellows, they also get to earn badges that they are building and adding to a resume that they started at the beginning of the semester. They're also making a student portfolio with that as well, and earning certificates along the way, preparing them for future careers and college. I'm going to show you a highlight of a video that the students have put together for you guys, and it actually shows the work done by Kaylana, who spoke to us first. She created an iPad to show her fellow peers at Bellingrath how to use the iPad successfully to do amazing work at school. So we'll go ahead and play that video.
Let's go, student fellow. All right.
How to use your markup tool, insert a photo, press me down to the top right corner, press markup, mark your photo, and save it like that. There's a video you can watch to directly show you how to do it. A way you can use markup is for math, etiquette, and self-improvement.
It all starts by planting a seed and having accessibility. If our students have accessibility and access to these things, they can do wonders. So thank you for allowing our students to have this wonderful class in our school system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaylana, for letting us show off some of your work, and thank you, Ms. Lewis, for sharing the gratitude. And I want to thank the board as well for making this possible. And just to end out, let's go invent tomorrow. That's what these students are doing, is they are creating tomorrow with the technology and their big ideas that they have. And if you want to follow along on the journey, there is a QR code that you can scan. We have a website that we update with what's happening each and every day in the Student Fellows journey. So make sure you're following along, and I'll turn the time back over to Brittany. But thank you so much for letting us come and visit and take over the board meeting for a moment as Student Fellows here at MPS.
And I do believe the Bellingrath principal is here. Ms. Howard? Somewhere? Hand? There we Ms. Howard. Yeah, she's right there. Yeah. Ms. Howard? Ms. Howard. We want to give a big shout out to her as well for coming and supporting her students. She's always at everything that I can, if she can get away, she's there. So, and all of the principals you work with are phenomenal. So just a round of applause for your leadership. Come on. All right, well, I honestly don't want to follow any more of that because the kids said it all. So that is all we do. We are all about just equipping them and their teachers with the tools of tomorrow, and while teaching them how to create that very future. So thank you so much. Y'all stand your pictures.
While you're getting the photo op going here, Ed Farm is so exciting. What's going on in Bellingrath and every school is the most innovative thing I've seen in a long time. I'm so proud, and I'm glad the students are having fun with it. Mr. Mitchell, I think you've got a really hard act to follow.
Before I begin, I want to just say one thing. We was at a session with them. They asked, what's the one thing you would love to see next year? And I said I would love to see every teacher and every student excited to learn. That is excitement to learn. So I love that. So thank you again. I want to present tonight, receive as information for the approval of Glimpse K-12. Glimpse K-12 will serve as the district solution for managing the effectiveness of resources and reducing student learning loss. So we're able to see with Glimpse K-12 if the impact of what we just saw is changing learning for students. Are there any questions?
Madam President, and mine is just a statement. I did some research on it, and I don't know what's wrong with the mic, but it's a really good program. Checked it out, vetted it, and I like the fact that it streamlines, for the most part, all the programs that you all purchase and services, and it helps you just to become efficient and effective. So I'm kind of excited to see this, and you share with me that we'll be able to, the board members will also be able to view it as well. So just kudos for what you're doing.
And just like you said, it's across all spectrum, finance, operations, everywhere. You'll be able to see everything that's happening with resource management.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay.
Next, the STEP CG contract, Ms. Patterson.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to request approval for the STEP CG contract that you have before you. This contract will provide Cradle Point routers on 50 of our school buses. The city loaned us devices of this nature during the pandemic in 2021 so that our students could drive up to buses and connect to the internet to get their homework done. The good news about these 50 devices is that because of a grant we received, these will be installed and services will be provided at no cost to the district for 1 year. The other good news about this is that just last week, the federal government extended the service window for service from July of 2022 to July of 2023. So the dates that you have on the contract there say 2022, but we'll be able to take advantage of this service from whenever we started until 1 year later. We are truly grateful to be able to take advantage of this extension for our students and to be able to offer these services. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Anderson?
Good evening, Dr. Moore, President Will, Vice President Mitchell, not here tonight, members of the board. You see the spreadsheet before you. I'll go through these quickly and be happy to answer any questions afterwards. Volkert has presented their tentative construction schedule, and I wanted to make sure you understood some of those terms he was using. The planning, or the design, and the programming. Programming has to do with what's going on at the school. So like Ed Farm would be a program in the school, or culinary arts. So they meet with the schools and go through what are the programs that are needed. We're also, what he mentioned was meeting this Thursday to also go through They've already met with the school with Lee, and we're going to go through with our people from a district level to look at those things as well, the programs that Lee has mentioned with that. And then once we have those programs, they provide that to the architects so that they can start the design of the school. It kind of sets the parameters for the architects so that they don't just put everything into a building. They tailor it to what we want in the building and what the district is looking to standardize through those buildings. So just wanted to make sure you had that clarification. The Brubaker Dozier Mansard roof contract, yesterday we did the pre-construction meeting. Dozier will start immediately. Weather has kind of put some of those off, but we'll start on that immediately. You'll start to be able to see that shingle around the front of the building, and then also that metal structure right there, the entrance, that'll be replaced, and that'll be on Dozier, and then they'll move over to the Brubaker complex and start working on those as well. They'll be working 5 to 6 days a week, possibly on some weekends, and they'll clean up as they go. It's a company that won the bid that has done a lot of K-12 work, so they're used to working around schools, and we met with the principals at all those locations to kind of get them in the loop of what's going to start with that. So you'll start seeing those changes quickly. We also did the T.S. Morrison South Lawn Middle re-roof. That's been a long time coming. If you've gone by those buildings, those roofs are in bad repair. It's a bad design basically on that. The south side that gets so much sun, it has basically just baked those shingles. They should have lasted longer, but they don't get enough ventilation, so the architect has worked to create more ventilation on those roofs, and we've done the pre-construction meeting with that. They'll begin here shortly, probably within the next 2 to 4 weeks. You'll start seeing them move on that. They're doing T.S. Morris first. We're working around the testing schedules for those elementary schools to make sure we don't interrupt testing with that. And then once they finish with T.S. Morris, they'll move over to South Lawn Middle for that re-roof. The central office consolidation is, I'm sorry, back up one, BTW construction update. If you've driven by there, they've started hanging the steel for the athletic facilities. They continue to work on the inside of the other buildings to get the mechanical and electrical done there. They're in really good shape on that part of it. Once the roof we're about complete with the shingled part of the roof of the main building, they'll be working on the metal of the magnet arts and the cafeteria here coming up shortly with that. Once that is done, then they'll come in and sheet rock the rest of the walls. But most of your interior walls are complete. You should have seen some pictures on those things in the slides that were provided in the documents that were submitted, and you should have that. So we'll be moving ahead on that pretty quickly if we can get this rain to hold off with that. But we have really encountered some weather here with this project and put some delays on things. But tentatively, we're still set to have the magnet arts and the cafeteria and the main part completed by July for a move-in of August, and then there'll possibly be a little bit of a delay on the athletic facilities there. That may be a 30 or 45 day delay on that, but again, they're not used to having athletic facilities, so a little bit of wait is going to be worth it on that. And I love Dr. Stark's attitude on it. She said, we have waited this long for something. If we have to wait a little bit longer, we want them to do an excellent job and not rush things and get things done correctly. So she's got a great attitude with it, and we just pray for good weather and continue to work on that. The central office consolidation, they are ahead on the demolition schedule. If you've driven by there these last 2 days, they've been working on the east side, the grounds there, that we're going to replace the fencing around the perimeter there so that we can secure that location better when they do start the construction on that side. But on the west side of it, the 3-story part, they have demolition most of the 3rd floor. There's a little bit left there. The 2nd floor, they began that last week, and I would imagine they'll finish that here within the next week or two, and then they'll move to the next floor. The week of March 24th, they're going to be coming in to pour the lightweight concrete in those floors up on the 3rd floor. So all of the rooms had a hardwood floor, like the old classrooms. When you remove that out, it left leaves about a 3-inch gap from the rooms to the hallway. They're going to come in with a lightweight concrete and fix that so that, one, it's easily maintained, and two, it's all level and up to standard there with that. The flooring to be completed over spring break, you see those areas there, Halcyon, Pentlala, E.D. Nixon, and South Lawn Elementary. That will round out most of those areas that we have there. There's some at Pentlala that would need to be completed, but Nixon and Halcyon and really do not have a ton of carpeting, but that'll take care of their carpet area, and they'll be in that LVT. South Lawn Elementary, we've done a little bit there before. This is going to get their office area and another library done and take care of them, taking care of most of their carpeted areas. The Goodwin and Brewtech HVAC met with Goodwin's principal today. And I have some more details on that because we received some information from the engineer on Friday. We're tentatively set for a bid opening on Goodwin for April 5th. And again, that will replace all of the windows and HVACs in that building. A large majority can be completed in the summer, but we're going to have to phase that through the first semester of this next year. And met with the principal there, and he's just going to, like he said, progress is, it takes some pain with that, and we're going to make it work. And Dr. Taylor has a great attitude with anything we put forward, and he's also just very appreciative of that. The Brewtech HVAC is about a week or two behind that, and again, we're just waiting on some final comments from DCM from both of those projects, and excited about moving forward on those. And then the Brubaker Intermediate, we're about 2 weeks or so behind each of those, so we're waiting on some comments from the electrical consultant, electrical engineer that is in on that, and then we'll submit to DCM after that. So you should see Goodwin coming to you first for contract. Hopefully the next month's board meeting we'll have Brewtech on there, and then hopefully the following month we'll have Brubaker Intermediate with it. Understand that these HVAC projects cannot be done in a summer, most of these total renovations, and it does take some phasing in of that, and we just try to work with the principals as best we can to mitigate some of the pain with that, but there is some pain with the progress, and glad we're getting those done. I know the projects we've done in the past, I don't get calls from Jeff Davis anymore, and I don't get calls from Brubaker Middle anymore or as much on things with that. So I know the majority are very pleased with what they have, and that's what we want to move our project with. Excited about our project with Volkert. Mentioned this with another group. Coming into the district, we had about over 30 buildings that needed a roof replacement, and we had approximately 20 buildings with window units for HVAC. If we don't do any other projects, we just do what we have slated, and then what Volkert has planned, all of our roofs will be on a maintenance schedule by the end of those 5 years, and we'll only have 3 buildings that we have window units in. So major accomplishment there. I don't foresee that we won't take care of those 3 buildings, but we're going to keep working on those as funding becomes available and knock those out one by one and get that taken care of.
There went, okay. On the change orders for the $27,716 change order, is that, I don't understand, is it just for the weather and we pay them for weather days, or?
No, and I don't have that in front of me, but there are several things that'll be built into that, but it's multiple parts of it. As far as fixing up the flooring, there is some steel with that. There's some casework that'll be coming along. But it's not just for extending the weather days with that, no, ma'am.
Okay, because that was all that was listed, and so I didn't understand that we pay for weather days, or?
Part of it is too, you're paying for labor with those things when you extend out the labor, the days on that, and then any damages it may have, because, you know, they're getting paid, their workers that are on the ground, their subcontractors are getting paid, and so when you extend out that time or they have to delay on set, there will be some of that that's in there with it, but we're still very well under on any kind of change orders with them. Our architects have done a great job in mitigating a lot of the change orders. They really have.
Okay.
And it's very minuscule. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Watts, financial statement.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Moore. You should have the financial statement for the month of January. Of course, January represents the 4th month of the fiscal year, which is basically 1/3 of the fiscal year 2022 would have been gone. Contained in the financial statement is an explanation of financial data, my brief discussion of the CFO's financial standing of the district, snapshot analysis, and I'll talk about that in just a second. It's just a brief synopsis of our district's financial position as of January 31st, 2022. Monthly budget percentages, of course, the 4th month of the fiscal year is basically 33%, or 1/3 of the fiscal year. The monthly comparative of statements of revenues and expenditures is basically a compilation of month-to-date and year-to-date expenditures and revenues. And of course, it compares that to the prior year expenditures and revenues. Statement of cash flow is a listing of all cash received and cash dispersed as of as of January of 2022. There's a pie chart of the cash inflows and cash outflows. And of course, lastly, our F exhibits, which includes our combined balance sheet and the combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, which is pretty much an income statement in private industry. Madam President, on tab 2, the snapshot analysis, we would note that total revenues is about $94.8 million as of January. Expenditures about $71 million. Have a total ending fund balance of about $85.7 million. And of course, that's as of January of 2022. Of course, our expenditures as a percent of our budget is about 31%. Again, the 4th month represents 33%, so we are spending a little bit less than what our budget states. We also see our salaries and benefits as January 2021 comparable to January 2022. Of course, we do have more folk in school now, and so we're glad about that. So of course, the payroll expenditures will increase because of that. We also see a comparison of our tax sources, and lastly, we see our general fund balance analysis, in which as of January 2021, our general fund balance was about $56 million. Currently, it stands at about $85.7 million. Of course, because we are in the month of January, we know that the majority of our ad valorem taxes come in the months of December through February. So therefore, we have a pretty hefty fund balance now, but of course, the majority of those funds are already budgeted for the upcoming months. Madam President.
Any questions?
Where you said that y'all spent the $71.3 million, it says the year before it was 69.9, so that's close to 2. Would you say that's because we're back in the school?
That's exactly the reason for that.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam President, one other thing I just want to bring to the board's attention that we need to start talking about employing or contracting with a financial advisor, more of a municipal financial advisor, as we continue on with our building program. As you know, Volkert have already been selected. Of course, the board approved them as our program manager. They presented a list of architects that the board approved, I think, last month, if I'm not mistaken. And so now we're at the point where we need to start thinking about bond issues and the financing of this particular program. As you know, we will not start receiving our tax dollars until October of 2023, which is fiscal year 2024. However, the work is continuing. All of the architects are working, drawing up the plans and so forth, and of course, Volkert is consistently working with those architects in doing so. But we do need the funding to pay the various vendors as this program continues. Of course, the only other option we would have is to slow down the program, and I don't think any of us want that. Otherwise, we really need to look at maybe a financial advisor to talk about whether we need to do a line of credit or and the various other things such as the bond debt. Of course, this was recommended also by Attorney Ziegler that we seek a municipal financial advisor. Now, what the things that financial advisor will be doing would include surveying the financial resources of the board to determine the extent of the capacity to authorize, issue, and service bond debt, recommend appropriate pledge of a tax or taxes as security for the bond debt, recommend with respect to each debt issuance terms that will lead to the lowest possible interest rates, including the date of issuance, interest payment dates, schedule of principal maturities, and all of those things related to that particular bond debt, along with coordinated the preparation of the notice of sale and bidding instructions of an official statement, official bid form, and other offering materials as needed, preparing cash flows, analysis of the particular debt issuance or the bond debt issuance, advising the board on the process of selecting a bond underwriter if the proposed financing is to be negotiated, along with several other things that the financial advisor will be doing. But that is something I think we need to move forward with. Now, in selection or in putting together an RFP for a financial advisor, of course, we'll have our bond attorney, Mr. Ziegler, his staff, work with us in putting together the RFP. And from there, the administration will select the top two or three companies, and from there, we'll ask those companies to present before the board. And from there, of course, the superintendent make a recommendation. But we'll get the top two or three advisors, have them present before the board, and from there, the superintendent make an appropriate recommendation for the board's approval. Madam President.
I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you. Any questions?
One, and it's a little bit, it's
Okay.
dealing with the financial. Last month, we had the Ms. Jackson from the Special Education Department to talk about the supplementary pay, and I was wondering if you and Dr. Moore had an opportunity to go back and look at that, and I was wondering also what was in their budget line item in there, if that was in there to have that supplemental pay, and I was wondering if it was, how much was that line item amount? What was the amount of that particular line item amount? Because $1,000 is way too less to pay somebody is not sufficient. And I was looking at our personnel report and noticed a lot of special education teachers leaving, and I just think that that would be something to attract them back or maybe reconsider. Some people will come back and say, hey, instead of leaving, I'll stay. But if you all could please go back and look at that and talk about it and hopefully bring it before the board next month, whether it's a no-go or we think we can handle this.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Moore, I think we did look at a few other districts, surrounding districts, and we were pretty much in line. In fact, some district wasn't paying anything additional, but Dr. Moore, if you had something to lend to that.
Okay, yes. I think I might have responded to you earlier through an email or called you and talked to you about that. I'll find it and send it to you again. But it is, what we recommended is in line with other supplements that we pay to other people in the district, such as department heads who do extra work. To go beyond the amount that was recommended would put us out of line with all of the other people that we have to deal with, which could cause others to want an equal amount for the same kind of work. So that's why in talking with Mr. Watts and then looking at it myself, I think what we recommended is in line with what we do with other people as far as supplements go. I don't think we need to go beyond that at this point.
And I wanted to say something on that. I think I was the one that you told about that, and then I understood, because then you would have your department heads saying, what about me? And you would be totally out of line. So, and I think, weren't they getting some kind of supplement anyway?
They weren't getting a supplement necessarily, but they may have had a reduction in their number of students that they had to deal with on a regular basis. So they had less on their rolls.
Okay.
Because of that extra work. And what happens is you may have 4 or 5 special ed teachers in a school, and all of them have the same basic load. Right. But then one of those special ed teachers, such as a math department head might do, would be responsible for sort of coordinating and making sure that the others who taught special ed in this case did the kinds of requirements that had to be done. And so that's why that supplement was recommended, because they do some additional work, but it's what we're doing right now is about in line with what we do with all of our other supplements in that particular arena.
And I just wanted to, because I was a special education facilitator, and no, there was never a stipend, and your loads will depend on how many special ed teachers are in the building. So if you lose special education teachers, your caseload will increase in addition to having that particular, I call it administrative type position. And I just wanted to say that because the numbers do fluctuate. I wish they would have stayed low. I've had 20 on my caseload or more and was a special education facilitator. But I didn't know that, Dr. Moore, so thank you for that. I'm still going to advocate. I know that other districts, and I think our lead teachers, department heads could use an increase, but I know we have to look at the reality of the funding. But I just wanted to, you know, advocate on behalf of them as a former special education facilitator.
Still haven't started your Shopify store? What are you waiting for? Shopify comes with everything you need. What is Start.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Watts.
Thank you.
The commercial break, yeah. Ms. Gillis, a compensation study, please.
To our board chair, board members, and to Dr. Moore. The last comments that we just had is a good lead-in for what I'm requesting at this point. You didn't receive anything in your packet because we want to embark upon having a company to come in and look at all of our salary schedules to see that they're fair and that they're equitable to all the other districts around us. We do have a teaching shortage. In order for us to be competitive, we've got to have salary schedules that will match the ones that are around our system. Additionally, when we think about retirement, adding a supplement doesn't necessarily impact their retirement, but if we change their salary, it does. So that's just something for us to think about. So in the next board meeting, we hope, we found 2 possible companies, but before I brought anything to you, and I've shared those with Mr. Watts and with Dr. Moore, but until I bring that to you, before I bring that to you, I'm going to vet them completely, let you have some say-so in that, and then guide us the rest of the way. So we would love to embark upon a compensation study, but not just for teachers, for the entire things, because there are some nuances in our salary schedule as well, some things we need to work out. I think the last meeting I brought to you some changes we needed to make to the nursing salary schedule because the degrees were not correct, and there are a lot of little nuances that we need to correct at this time. Questions about that?
You have, you and Dr. Williamson on the nurse lead position.
Okay. I'll start with that while Dr. Williamson comes up. We brought to you, I think it was last month, that we wanted to correct the position title and the salary schedule for the nursing coordinator because we did have a retirement. Well, since then, we've posted the job. We've tried to get enough applicants. We've posted not only on SearchSoft, we've posted on Indeed, and we're having a difficult time getting applicants to actually apply to MPS. Well, we think part of it is the salary schedule, but we think the other part, listening to people, is that we are in still a pandemic situation, although it's getting bad, getting better, but it's a lot of work on nurses. It truly is. And for one person to lead a district this size, that's a lot of work to have to make sure all of the things are taken care of, making sure that we're reporting it correctly. So what we did is we decided to look at other districts around us. Most large districts, they have 2 people. But what we decided is we're not trying to break the bank, and we knew Mr. Watts would not have us do anything that we shouldn't do. So we proposed to him, and he was in agreement that if we divided our system up some kind of way, and I'm thinking more than likely in zones, then what we would do is have 2 nursing leads. We've never had a nursing lead before, so it would be 2 people. The salary would not be comparable to what the coordinator's salary schedule would be. It would be less than that, but it would be more than what a traditional nurse would make. And then if sometime down the road we needed to hire a nursing coordinator, you would still have the ability to do that because the salary schedules would fall right in line. But this would split the work between 2 people, and we hope that this pandemic is over soon. But in case it is not, we need to be able to service our kids and the kids in this district. Dr. Williamson?
Good evening, President Will, board members, Dr. Moore. Just as Ms. Gillis has alluded to, we have had this posting, if you recall, out since December of this year, and at that time we did not have anyone apply for our district. We came back to the board, we adjusted the salary schedule, we changed the parameters around that salary schedule and reposted in December. And from December until now, we've had 4 applicants, and only 3 of those applicants are even qualified for the position. And again, as Ms. Gillis and I have been working through this process, in districts similar in size to us, they actually have divided that work effort. So the benefit for us as a district, if we work under this model and adopt 2 nurse leads, we would now be able to use them in a capacity to help when we have a shortage in nurses in schools. We would also be able to provide more professional development for our nurses as well as for our school teams, in addition to being able to be more responsible and more responsive to our parents, because as you know, if you follow our data, we have many more children coming into our district that have very significant health needs. And so not only are our nurse leaders responsible for managing the nurses on the ground, they are also our point person whenever a child comes in with very specialized doctor's orders, and each one of those go through that nurse lead. So if we divide the efforts within our district, it would lessen the burden on that position. Any questions?
Additionally, in your packet, you do have a copy of the salary schedule that we're proposing, but before we can do any of that, anytime there's a new position, it's a requirement that the board approve the new position and the salary schedule. Questions?
I have one, and I guess the only one is you've posted here what the salary is, and that, you know, I won't call it out, but I'm looking at it. And you also, I think I heard you said if you did 2, then that number would be less than this.
No.
Okay, Because I was
That
going
was-
to say, how could you do that and then post it and already have
No.
3 in?
No,
Okay.
each person, based on their experience, would get whatever that salary is.
Okay, got you.
But it is less than the nurse coordinator position.
Right. The one that we presented to you before.
I got you.
It actually fits in between what an actual nurse would make that we have on a day-to-day and what the coordinator would have made had we been able to find one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Moore, amendment to the bylaws.
Okay, thank you. At our last meeting, there was a few minutes of discussion regarding changes in our location of our meetings, which has to do with Section 1 under Article 5. And so we talked about maybe adding some words that would give you the leeway in case of an emergency to change your location and change your time and maybe make some other adjustments as needed. We talked a lot about the fact that COVID had caused us to have the social distancing and some other things, and that's why we're really not meeting in our typical boardroom. And so we talked about wording. I added that last line, although we also had as unless otherwise ordered by the board, and it had the former location and address. We talked about the fact we're going to be moving to a new central office as soon as Chad gets it all done. He talked about that a little bit tonight at the old BTW building. That's where our new boardroom will be. So I added the line to that section that says, during emergency situations, the board may make adjustments as needed. Force majeure, basically an active guard, something that's out of our control, and we have to make some changes that may be temporary. Temporary may be, in this case, a year or two, but I added that so that the board would be covered. When you get moved to your new location, you have your new boardroom, you can change that address and location to reflect where you would be located with your standard boardroom that you would use for your meetings.
Can I ask a question?
Questions? Yes.
Okay, it also says regular meetings of the board shall be the second and fourth Tuesday of each month. Don't we just have one regular meeting and then a work session, or is that?
They're considered board meetings, even though one is a work session.
Okay.
And you remember last time we talked about that, and we said your calendar had been developed for this year through December, and that pretty much I think it was a consensus that you would follow that calendar, which right now is one board meeting per month, but it's all based on that adjustment due to COVID. Now, when you get into your new building, at that point, based on your bylaws, you would go back to your 2 meetings per month as opposed to one, where we are trying to do both things in one meeting.
Okay. Next up, just a very brief update on the superintendent search. I've spoken with AASB, and they're pleased with the applicant pool. They say it's a good mixture of sitting superintendents and those with high level of administrative experience. More than 70 people started the application process, though not all of them completed it. They have done an initial screening, and now they're doing the deeper vetting and weeding out or weeding in the strongest candidates. Dr. Wright will be here next week to present the finalists, and there'll be a board packet. There'll be a packet for each candidate, for each board member, and there will also be something for there'll be a media sheet at that time. So I don't know much more than you do, but I'm excited that they feel good about this, and our search is on for the very best superintendent to replace Dr. Moore. No, we have a meeting next week, next Tuesday. I don't. It is with Dr. Wright will present the finalists. I don't know. I suspect we're here.
It's going to be a public meeting,
It is a public meeting.
so you have to have it in a space big enough, either, I would say here perhaps.
Probably here. We'll know before next Tuesday. And then the last item on this meeting is, I'm looking for 2 to 3 volunteers who will research the biographical data on the names that were submitted for the school renaming. So could I have, who would be interested in researching the biographical portion?
I'd first like to ask a question. Are you talking about every name that was submitted, or should we narrow it down before?
I think we can look at the names that were submitted. There were 10 names per, and there was emphasis
There were a few
on.
redundancies, so we're talking about somewhere between 15 to 20 biographical sketches.
Mhm. But I'd like to break it up so nobody has too much, to do.
I'm willing to volunteer.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Anybody else? We're not going to leave her there to do it by herself, are we?
I like the way you looked at me, Claire, so I will volunteer. I saw the eye contact.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Anybody else want to jump in? I'll check with Claudia and see if she will be the third. And this information will be presented at a future meeting, and we're going to move onwards.
I just have a question. So since we know that Lanier is not in the mix anymore,
correct,
and Lanier will not be a building for MPS use once the schools are converted, how do we get rid of the name Lanier?
Well, it won't be an active school.
I know, but the words will be on the building.
I don't know how to answer that because it won't be a school, and I don't know how you deactivate a school. Do you know, Dr. Moore?
Well, I think it will be determined by whether or not I should say it this way, what you decide you want to do with that building. Whether you want to maintain it as a property or something else. If you decide to use it, it's going to take about $7 million to get it, $70 million to get it to a usable state for future use by the school system. So whatever decision you make about that probably would determine whether or not it continues to be called Lanier as owned by the school system. If it's owned by someone else, they may change it to another name or another complex or something else.
Okay, because that logic wasn't figured into, the naming or the names that were released from the committee.
I would suggest that perhaps that building would be sold. That would be my choice.
I mean, I don't think that we're in a position to make a decision of that magnitude, but I just wanted, the conversation was relevant, and I wanted to bring that up because that was something that we kind of, it didn't get addressed.
And Madam President, personally, I thought that several of us made it clear that we were not wanting to get rid of that building, and the community has made it clear that we want to do something positive in that community for that community, and they want to do something. Again, we can't make those decisions here tonight, but when we talk about the name changes, we've already wasted about a year and a half on this process, and we don't plan to have those students out of that building at the end of 2022. So we are still talking about a school where we have students for a year or two. So, I think it still should be a part of our considerations.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. This will adjourn this meeting, and we will resume with the next meeting. Call to order. And let me pull up the right agenda. Okay. So we still have a quorum here. Can I get an approval of this agenda?
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda.
All in favor with a show of hands? Okay. So as always, I love to start a meeting with some good news that's happening in the district, and we have a lot of it tonight. First of all, I want to say kudos to everyone involved with in the MPS Elementary VEX Go robotics competitions. We had 15 elementary schools from 5 different feeder patterns participate in the competition, which was live streamed. And congratulations to Highland Avenue for finishing first overall in the tournament. Bear won second place, and Wilson came in third. Related to that, I also want to congratulate Capitol Heights and Carr Middle Schools. Capitol Heights came in 5th and Carr was 6th in the state robotics tournament. It's really exciting to see so many students involved in STEM activities like robotics, and again, the kids that have already left that were in the Ed Farm project. This is just, it is really exciting. It's really the future of our kids. We also had some great artists to recognize. BTW had a number of students who placed in the Scholastics Art and Writing Southeastern Regional Competition. 5 students won gold keys, 5 won silver keys, and 7 received honorable mentions. All 5 of the students who won gold keys are now entered into the national competition, and they are Michaela Ballard, Ashley Luna Mendez, Isabella Dennison, J. Amir Robinson, and Abigail Osorio. So we want to recognize them and wish them all the luck. And last but not least, congratulations to our basketball teams who saw success at the state level. We had 6 schools make it to the Alabama High School Athletic Association Basketball Sweet 16. That was the Park Crossing, Lamp, and Carver girls, and the Park Crossing, Jeff Davis, and Brewtech boys. Additionally, the Park Crossing girls and boys teams made it to the Final Four for the first time ever. So if we could give them just a little round of applause for our students who are fantastic. And Jay Jones, recognitions.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Moore, and board members. Tonight is a special night because we are going to present to you all and our community our Teacher of the Year for 2021-2022. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe we have a video that we would like to play for you all. But before we do that, if you all, if the board would like to join us down here on the floor, because we will take photos with our Teacher of the Year. And we can go ahead and play the video. Yes. Madam President, well, another commercial break. We do thank them. Madam President and board members, if you would, please join us at the front as we congratulate our 2021-2022 Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Stacy King. And again, Ms. King is a 5th grade teacher at Seth Johnson. We're going to have you join the board members right there at the front for pictures. And as they're taking pictures, we do want to thank our partners at Baptist Health for the $25 gift card that we do give to all of our employees that are employees of the month. And to the public and our organization, Mrs. King will be our teacher ambassador next year, so we will see her throughout the year. But it was just such a pleasure to see you in action, and she was totally surprised, by the way. So thank you, Mrs. Sism, who is here tonight. And again, we're really excited. So again, congratulations. Whatever you're comfortable with. Whatever you're comfortable with. They're asking that you just shift a little bit. That's it. Okay, one more side. We do have family, if they can just join in next to her real quickly. This is her husband and son. And then we have her sister, Elsa. Real quickly. Probably, but can we just have the board just real quickly? Yeah, that'd be nice. They'll probably put it on the mantle for a little bit. Yeah, she might put it on the mantle. I would. Awesome. And we'll take a picture with just the family as the board goes back to their seats. Good? Okay. Again, thank you so much, Mrs. King. Thank you. Madam President.
Okay, Dr. Moore, consent agenda.
No citizen comments?
No.
No.
At this time, we will get to the consent agenda. I recommend approval of the consent agenda items A through G.
Do we have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for items A through G.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor with a show of hands? Unanimous. Dr. Moore?
All right, I recommend approval, number 8, of the personnel report certified personnel.
Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for A, personnel report certified personnel.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor with a show of hands? Okay, unanimous. Dr. Moore?
Item 8B, I recommend approval of the personnel report classified personnel.
Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for item B, personnel report classified personnel.
And is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor with a show of hands? And that is unanimous. We will have a meeting next Tuesday. It will be, we'll make sure that it will be here at, yeah, yes, the announcement will have all of the information. And with that, the next regular board meeting will be April the 12th, and that will be right here. And we are adjourned.